I'm trying to merge two words. Well, the first one is there, intentionality of whosoever. That's my crafty. Please don't accuse Pastor Gotts or Pastor Ida. They don't have nothing to do with this. But the two words are intentionality and whosoever. Intentionality is very important because it's something that telling me of motives, attitude that person have towards someone. In dictionary, it's intentionality speak of the fact of being deliberate or purposeful in one direction. In philosophy, it will be the quality of mental state, which means thoughts, beliefs, desires, hopes that consist in their being directed towards some object or state of affairs. That means everything that I am. Intentionality means I am directed towards one thing and one thing only. It's a very interesting word. And I believe it talks a lot about who God is. And let's put God under the microscope here and see what that intentionality is all about when God is in question. In His character, in the way how He relates to us, we see His intention towards life. What kind of risk He take in creating life. What He did to sustain a life. His intentionality to support a life. His intentionality to maintain a life. And on the end is His intentionality to save a life. And all that about how God revealed Himself in the Bible testify about Him as a person. And He stands, He is purposeful, He's focused, He's driven, He's nonsense person. He is keeping His word, He is exciting, He executing, He's firm in His decisions and never changing. What an awesome person. What God we have who is intentional towards us. And I would like to share just one thing I would like to bring to you regarding Him as intentional person regarding us. And I would like to use a nature. Look at this young fella. Now, you know what I'm finding out? Evolutionists will say that in order for species to procreate, to be alive, to survive in this man-eat-man world, species-eat-species world, they need to have their life so unique and so simple in order to survive. I don't find that in the nature. I find the nature very unique in the way how species, birds, lizards, insects react in certain environments, in certain events in their life, or especially when a mating is in question. Nothing simple is about mating, especially when the bird with such a colorful tropical colors perform the dance. Hello, birds do the dance. And they're doing that such a wonderful in order to attract a girl. Nothing simple is about that. But what is more unique for me is the colors that are on those animals. They're not aware what kind of colors they have. They're really, I don't know if they are aware of what they have, but they know how to use them to look fancy for their females. Look at that guy. You want to have him in your aquarium, but better have a big pockets because that guy is expensive. Just to maintain. Because in order for him to be alive, you need to maintain salt and salt water, plus the price of the fish, which I don't know how much is it. This is the cousin of the first one. Bright colors. And you need to wonder why those colors are there. Look at these guys here. You need to wonder why that plethora of colors in a bird. What is the God intentionality here? Look at that guy on the top there. You cannot not to see him, how colorful he is. And this guy, I like to have one. I have in my home, I have cockatiels, 2 of them. But this guy is, I don't know, 10 times bigger than them. And it's a good alarm system if you have it at home. What was most amazing is the peacock, but that bird there, I don't know the name of that bird, but I was so impressed with the colors, the way how that bird looked like. What will be the purpose of that, please, in the nature? What will be God's intentionality to create? Darwin, he had a problem with the peacock tail. He could not, evolutionary speaking, he could not explain the purpose of the peacock's tail or eye. There is no way to explain it. What is the purpose of aesthetics in the nature? If evolution is really theory to go, then everything needs to be simplified. This is not simplified. This is such a beautiful way to look at it, and God created intentionally. For what? Look at that guy. You just want to have him at your home. Just to sit still and be cute. What about this guy? You want to have him home? Actually, I saw a couple of videos. Some people have him, actually. Good luck to them. But when I see this, it gives the impression of dignity, strength, power. Isn't God awesome? Look at this. You cannot not to just have that jaw-dropping moment. The purpose, intentionality. Look at him. Come on, you cannot not to enjoy the moment and saying, wow. It's so powerful when you see gorilla like that. But in this moment, he's like so cuddly, you want to hug him. Look at this gentleman. Oh, tiger. Look at the chameleon. What impressed him to change in a split of the second? He has ability to change a color on demand. Look at that. I know the name of this bird. It's called toucan, and I remember that because of the beak. One of the biggest I ever had, I saw in a bird's kingdom. This is dignity. Beautiful. And God intentionally created them. Do you know what is needed to develop a pattern in a feather? In order for you to see that, you need to be crafted, so carefully crafted in your DNA, in order for us to have beautiful, colorful bird like that. That's a design. Look at this guy. Imagine in the winter finding this red, I don't know what, I believe it's a cardinal. It's amazing having it. What will be the purpose? Again, I'm trying to put you there. What is the purpose of the beauty in a nature? What is intentionality of God to bring that in a nature? If you meet this guy in the sea, run. Actually, swim. It's beautiful to see, but you don't want to touch him. Again, I am mesmerized by the peacock tail and the way how it is. And what I find, only one thing to answer the question of intentionality of the beauty, aesthetics in the nature is that God created for you and I. He created for us. Isn't it? See, even in a small thing, God make everything to benefit us. And when you see that intentionality in small details, in the way how He create flowers, create birds, and everything, you can see intentionality of God in saying, Jake, I love you this much. When we see God in small details, you cannot have a walk in the nature without having a jaw drop moments. And that's the beauty of intentionality. And we know that through the nature we can see intentionality of God's love and care for us. And also we see that intentionality in Jesus Christ regarding our salvation. Then it beats the question, how I am to live my life? How am I to live my life? Intentionally, to represent Jesus. What I need to do to be intentional in my walk in life. What I need to do in a small thing to represent God's love and grace in everything that I'm doing. You see, I love to draw the conclusion from this, from the intentionality of God in nature and here, because this is how lesson of life comes to be. And I love to draw that because I believe that God is intentional to show me how much He loves me, you and I, but also it brings me idea and brings me a question of my responsibility to be intentional in my life. That's why we need to model that intentionality of God's love and grace. But how? Let's bring for a moment one verse. It's in John chapter 4, verse 4. It's very short, or at least I would like to take a piece of the verse. In chapter 4, we found Jesus' attempt to go through Samaria. And the verse states, and He attempted to go through Samaria. Very interesting verse. Now He had to go through Samaria. Let me bring you this morning conclusion that He don't need to go through Samaria. He really don't need to. Pious Jews of Jesus Christ's time, they avoid to go through Samaria. They develop way of thinking that whatever Samaritan touch is unclean. They develop their thoughts that far. That means when a Jewish person planned a trip to Galilee or Nazareth, he went to the way backward words to avoid Samaria in order to reach that destination. But in this context, we see that Jesus deliberately, intentionally had to go through. This is intentionality. He has a reason to go through Samaria. He wants to see the places and people to see. And very interestingly, that on that way, he deliberately finds himself available in a crossroads of people's life to be there and wait. And this is what Samaritan woman, I find the 5 things that Samaritan woman saw and how she reacts toward Jesus Christ. Number 1, she see thirsty man. I said, okay, fine. He's there. I cannot do anything about that. But when she realized that he's a Jew, she immediately despised him. Next thing that I recognize is she figured out that he is a rabbi, he is a teacher, and she started to heckle him. She tried to bring so much question to him because she wants to have some answers. Then she drew a conclusion that he must be prophet, and she developed appreciation for him. And finally, she realized that he is Messiah, and she started to adore him. I have often wondered if the path of this woman, the path that woman took to Jesus, isn't fairly typical to path of secular people today that take a road toward Jesus. You know what? Interestingly, here enough that Jesus did not perform big miracles here. Really, he didn't perform miracle at all. He didn't do nothing. He just shared the word. Guess what? I can do that. In every aspect of my life, I can do that. I just need to be just like Jesus. I need to be intentional in where I'm going, how I'm going, and see opportunities that are in front of me. Jesus was attentional. God was intentional through creation. In small things, Jesus in his ministry on the earth, he was intentional in small things. He made himself available. Also, our word, just like Jesus' words, can bring a change in life once we meet. We cannot avoid that. If we understand that we are children of God, everything that I'm doing, every position, every event in my life is the time to glorify Jesus Christ. I was just wondering for a moment, if you bear with me for a moment, being in the shoes of Philip. Not Philip the apostle, Philip the deacon, who was put on a crossroads, and he was waiting, I don't know how long, until the chariots from Ethiopia came in. Can you for a moment ask yourself a question? What would you ask if you are on Philip's time, if you are in Philip's shoes? What would you ask by waiting? Why am I here? What is the purpose of me being here? As long as we are not losing a purpose of who we are, our identity of being children of God, God will find a purpose for us. Philip found his purpose. Martha, she was in a kitchen, she was doing her work, but she lost the purpose of being in a kitchen. Because rather being in a kitchen, she was doing that so grumpy that even service was not done correctly. She lost the purpose, her purpose in the kitchen. I just wonder, are we losing our intentionality in our life? In being busy? We also need to be available. We always need to find a way to represent, to be intentional to represent our Savior. Every opportunity is responsibility to be intentional. Being a father, being mother, being husband, being or wife, it's the time to be intentional. Husbands, let me repeat myself. When did you last time date your wife? Intentionally. Where did you intentionally, your grown-up daughter, she was 16, 17, or maybe 18, took her for a date and show her what does it mean to behave properly? Let her have that in her mind, how gentleman needs to behave. It's a simple thing, but it's intentional. Remember, Jesus in Acts chapter 1, verse 8, stating, Now go to Jerusalem, and after that you will go to Samaria, and after that where? The end of the world. In order for us to be ready to go to Samaria and be intentional, we need to stop and being in where? Jerusalem. Our first intentionality should be our children, wives, singles. Do not lower your standards in order for you to be loved. Be intentional. In my humble experience working with a family, I find one lady, lied to you, 5 children, 4 different fathers. Our dear wives, please love us because we need you. We need you. But being intentional means looking at that small things that make our lives. It's the small things that breaks and makes relationships. Not big things. And I want you to bear that in your mind. Because being intentional is what is needed for us to know that you are not a mistake. You hear me saying that all the time here. There is a purpose for you being here in 535 Finch Avenue West. You are here intentionally. You are not in Florida. I know that you want to be, but you're not. You can end up in Alaska. You don't want to go there, but you are here. That means there is a purpose for your character, for your traits of character, for your temperament. It's suited to be in Villovdale Seventh-day Adventist Church. You are needed. God make you, through all your experience in life, to be who you are today, to fit the needs of the people intentionally around you. In your Jerusalem, in your Samaria. That is responsibility that we cannot avoid. We are social beings. We cannot isolate ourselves. And wherever we are, that intentionality of understanding ourselves as a child of God is always there with us, for us. And if it's not there on the forefront of our mind, then it's something else. And as a church, we need to know and being intentional to defend the needs and needs, to fulfill the needs and defend the rights of people around us. And I'm talking about all the groups that are in our community. Because God gave them, I'm talking about homosexual and lesbians. It's their right to choose their lifestyle, am I right? And we need to honor and respect that and help them to acknowledge their rights, It's very important to do that. Why I'm saying this? Because there is one statement I find out from the pastor who was leading German Protestant pastor in pre-war Germany. His name was Martin. Oh boy, I think I will make a mistake is there German here in our Niemöller. And he states a wonderful statement. He states, first they came to the socialist, and I did not speak out because I was not socialist. We are talking about Nazis who came to the power. Then he states further, then they came to the trade unionists. And I did not speak out because I was not trade unionist. Then they came for Jews and I did not speak out because I was no Jew. Then they came after me. And there was no one left to speak out. We are here in 535 Finch Avenue West to be the beacon of what God stands for, and that's a love, mercy, and grace. We are there here to fulfill the needs of community that we are in. Remember, we are not in Philippines. We are not in, I know, we are not in Europe, Eastern Europe. We are not in Florida. We are here. And because of that, God gave us the ultimate call to be intentional, fulfilling the need. I know this sounds very tricky, and I want you to understand me correctly. I'm not saying that the Bible is out of lunch here when the lifestyle is in question. We know who we are. We know what Bible stands for, am I right? But everyone has a right to choose what they want to do, am I right? Can we protect that? Do we have a right to protect that right? No one can have here come openly and freely to bash any kind, anytime. Is it religion? Is it color of skin? Or it's the lifestyle? We are here to love, to live our lifestyle as we know it that was given to us through Jesus Christ. And be loving, merciful, and graceful. Isn't that intentionality in its core? To love people, to be in community, to rub our shoulder with our neighbors, and see how we can be part of their problem. Because if we are not part of the problem in the community, can we be part of solution? Simple math. But if we are part of the problem, fulfilling their needs, can we be part of solution? Yeah. And I believe that is what we need to work on, and we need to find a way to work on ourselves as a family in order to conclude ourselves being shipped to our neighborhood and rub shoulders with them. Another word that I'm finding very curious here is a whosoever or whoever. I really find that word very biblical. I don't find it very often in other literature. Am I right? It's a very biblical word. Whosoever, whoever. And this is what I'm finding here. That Gospel of John does not have a parables like all other three. But what Gospel of John has is the acting parables. That means it's using the people that Jesus meet to build the message. And in chapter 3, Jesus meets Nicodemus. And in chapter 4, he's meeting Samaritan woman. And look at the difference between these two characters. There is a striking contrast between Samaritan woman and Nicodemus. And that it helps us see the point of whosoever. Nicodemus is a man. Samaritan woman is woman. Nicodemus is Jew. The woman is Samaritan. Nicodemus is rich. The Samaritan woman is poor. Or if she wasn't poor, she will not fetch water by herself. Nicodemus is highly, highly educated. The Samaritan woman was illiterate, as the woman of the first century. Nicodemus was pious Pharisee. The woman was adulteress. Nicodemus was highly respected. She was despised even by her own people. Nicodemus had a great name, which means leader of nations, leader of people. And she is even today anonymous. He lived in a holy city, Jerusalem, and she lived in a town of drunkenness. Yet, in spite of all disadvantages and shortcomings, Samaritan woman is much quicker to understand the gospel, understand and accept and believe. Nicodemus came to Jesus in the middle of the night. She came in the middle of the day. In Nicodemus and Samaritan woman, we see opposite sides of extremes of whatsoever and whosoever. No matter who you are, no matter what you've been or what you have done in your life, no matter where you have been or how you have been treated, Jesus' arms are open to you if you are willing to take it. And that's the beauty of gospel. Isn't that awesome? In our present society is seemingly becoming increasingly divided into the various competing groups. We need to hear that in a gospel there is no more female or male, no more slave or free, no more Jew or Gentile, no more black or white. It's that beauty and lack of prejudice. It's what makes the gospel so amazing. One thing I understand in my humble experience as being a pastor is if I want to make a mistake in working with the people, I will rather make a mistake according to the grace. And here we are. 2 words. Intentionality of whosoever. As a pastoral team, we would like to find ourselves coming closer to community. Somehow find ourselves meeting with we have here Hub. Everyone knows what Hub is in our community here. It's a nice place here, building in an area where the school is, which is a place of about 12 government-funded institutions. They are helping community. We would like to find ourselves working with them, to rub our shoulders with them, to find ourselves close to the fulfilling the needs of community in order for us to find the problems and find a solution for them together. That's why from in the next 2 years we will have you can say contract, or we will bring Pastor Mike Tucker from Lesson for Today. Life for Today, sorry, it's United States. And he will be here in October. And then for about 3 other events, he will be in 2000. But we are starting in October to have a seminar with him called Choice. And we actually, as a pastoral team, we actually put some names together who will help us, hopefully, to bring small groups into the life of the church when we finish with that event and go forward to the second and third event. In that, we need to be intentional. We need to come closer to the community in order for us to find a way to fulfill the needs. That's why working with a hub, by God's grace, we need the prayers. We need the prayers to be wise, to reach them, to work with them. But also on our side here, we are doing some evangelistic events to reach the people according to the needs. Choice is a question of the practical lifestyle, how to live our life in and make choices in our life. And for that, we need you. We need you to be intentional in your life, in your personal Jerusalem, and in your Samaria, in order for us to reach Remember, you are not here by accident. God is intentional in everything, even when salvation is in question. And your life, my life, has only sense if we cooperate and bring ourselves, surrender ourselves to His guidance. Are you willing to try? Are you willing to see where your Jerusalem is, where your Samaria is? Are you willing to surrender and try to attempt to see God's grace and mercy and presence in your life? God can do that. God can bring you such a joy and grace in your life, such excitement if we work with Holy Spirit by reaching people for His name. That's why we are here in 535 in Travagna West. Let's do the best we can to do that. That's why let's be intentional. And let's meet whosoever God put on our path. May God bless you in your search, personal journey. In the next week, who knows who God will put in front of you next week? Whom you need to meet. But that's the part of a journey. That's why enjoy intentionality. Enjoy those people that God will put in front of you, because He has a purpose for you. Amen.